Alright, this story is entirely fictional. It's for entertainment purposes only, so don't take it too serious. It's not real. Okay. The story of Stephen B. Smith is a story of East Coast grind and grit, but to understand his drive, we have to start from the start. Stephen Bradley Smith's dad was a promising sport journalism student at Winston-Salem University. When he found out his girl was pregnant, he initially took her with him to New York to try to make things work, but eventually decided to focus on his career, opting not to be in his son's life. Stephen B. was raised by his mom and her family, but grew up feeling resentful that his dad prioritized his career over him. 17 years later, after averaging 22 points and 12 assists as a high school senior, Stephen B. signed to Syracuse and ended up spending 2 years there, before opting into the 2014 NBA draft. As other names were called, he started losing hope until he was taken by Detroit with the 53rd pick. Fueled by watching his dad yap on TV every night, he made it his goal to not be ignored by sports media and also to make sure his dad's favorite team would never win a championship. Stephen B. came into the league as a 6'3" point guard with a very good mid-range and pick-and-roll game. He wasn't very strong or explosive off the first step, but his craftiness made up for it. Think of a slower, low-budget Chris Paul with long arms. Scouts also praised his high release point, which allowed him to get his shot off against more athletic defenders. His rookie season started off with a preseason private game versus Athens from the EuroLeague. This was basically a chance for the front office to watch young players get playing time and speculate on their potential and areas to improve. As they watched from high up in the rafters, Stephen B. did his thing and left no question about his offensive skills. But his athleticism didn't stand out and his defensive consistency remained unclear for the GM. That being said, he finished the season with 7 points, 2 rebounds, 3.4 assists, shooting 49% field goal, so that was way above expectations for a 53rd pick. Impressed by his first season's overachievements and seeing great potential, the Pistons immediately signed him for 4 more years. His second season started off with the annual Pistons Rooftop Showcase, an event highly anticipated by fans. Anxious to show off his off-season improvements, Stephen B. tried to do too much and got off to a poor start. It's only at halftime that he remembered his college coach saying, "When in doubt, stick to your mid-range game and make the easy pass." And that's what he did in the second half, finishing with 16, including this driving dunk on Caron Butler. I don't know if he had developed sneaky hops or if it was just the long arms, but either way, fans loved it. By the end of the season, he was making noise, almost doubling his scoring and assists from the previous season, now averaging 13.8 points and 6.5 assists, along with 2.3 rebounds, earning him the Most Improved Player award and a spot in the Rising Star game. This was the start of year 3. There weren't a lot of nationally televised games for the Pistons at the time, so the team owner wanted to bring some hype to Detroit and proposed that if he beat LeBron in Cleveland on ESPN, he would be the face of the next round of promotional material. So he got hot quick and did his thing, especially from mid-range. And Detroit beat the Cavs by 17 points. As his play improved dramatically over the year, endorsement deals started pouring in and he signed with Adidas, right before he took Detroit to their first postseason in many years. In the playoffs, he first took it to his old teammate Brandon Jennings, who had teamed up with fellow LA native DeMar DeRozan on the Nets. Thanks to the addition of Gordon Hayward, Detroit took the win in 6. But the Cavs took their revenge and swept them right out of the playoffs. Getting a taste of the playoffs had made him determined. He put on 15 pounds of muscle in the offseason and worked on his athleticism. This ended up being his first All-Star season, as he dropped an average of 20 points with 9.1 assists, along with 1.7 steals per game. His incredible play led the Pistons to the 2nd seed, but they just couldn't make it past the first round against John Wall and Bradley Beal. At that time, the Knicks were making noise, with prime Paul George and Kevin Love dominating the Eastern Conference. Meanwhile, Stephen B. was becoming a star and rocking his new signature shoes. That year, he was taking and making crazy shots, dunking on folks' heads and going viral. He was an all-star and ended up on the All-NBA 3rd team with 21 points, 2 steals, and a league-leading 11.3 assists. In the second half of the season, the Pistons had back-to-back games versus New York, at a point where they were neck to neck in the standings. And both games were battles. Paul George was dunking everything, and Stephen B was looking like prime CP3. Each team took one and lost one, but Stephen made a statement, scoring 33 points in the first and dropping 13 assists in the second. However, both teams got booted in the first round of the playoffs that year. For season 2019-2020, he signed a new 5-year deal and made the All-Star team again. But let's fast forward to the playoffs. Detroit was a powerhouse and beat everyone on their way to facing the Knicks in the conference finals. Keeping in mind what his commentator dad had to say about him, Stephen B gave buckets after buckets, despite Paul George playing his heart out. It seemed like his ball handling could get him any open look he wanted in the mid-range, and defenders just couldn't stay in front of him to save their lives. Don't forget the lob he threw to KCP for this insane dunk, or his backdoor cut slam late in Game 4. He ended up averaging 31 points over the series, winning in 6. Stephen B started the finals strong against Katie and Russ. He was in his bag right until this moment. The home crowd initially cheered for the N1, but became silent when Stephen B couldn't get up. It turned out he had snapped his LCL and tore his meniscus. He would sit out the entire next season with complications from surgeries and was never the same player after that. He ended up being waived 2 years later and was picked up by Boston for just a few weeks before being forced to retire. With everything said and done, Stephen B's career was short-lived but spectacular. He's remembered as one of the New York Knicks' top villains along with Reggie Miller and Trae Young. We'll never know if we truly got to see his peak or if he was on his way to becoming even scarier. I hope you enjoyed the vid, a lot of work went into it. If you did, please let me know in the comments, subscribe for more, and check out my career simulations videos. Take it easy, peace.